I don't think there was any reason you needed to go personally. I see Aints didn't have this signal detector built in, so that was all he could say. In Yggdrasil, he could tell roughly how strong an enemy was compared to him by the color its name was displayed in. He could also get information from walk-through sites or his guildmates' intelligence magic. It was a little bit nostalgic. I should have learned some intelligence magic. Aints regretted not having those abilities. Of course, he wasn't sure if it would function the same here, but he probably wouldn't have had to take risks like he had that day. Well, it's no use crying for the moon. Aints decided to think about something else. Albedo, I know how strong you are and I trust you, but you shouldn't take things so lightly. Consider the possibility that someday an enemy could defeat me. That's especially important now when we don't have much info about this world. That's why I had Gazef do some work for me out there. Aha, so you sacrificed a pawn to test the strength of your enemy. Truly, that is the proper use for the inferior human race. He couldn't see her expression under her close helmet, but her voice was cheery, like a flower garden. He'd been wondering for a while. As a former human, now undead, Aints wanted to know if she really hated humans that much. Not that he felt sad or lonely because of it. On the contrary, as the captain of the Floor Guardians in the Great Tomb of Nazarick, the headquarters of a guild made up of grotesques, it was probably the correct attitude. It seemed that way to him, anyhow. That's right. But of course, that's not all. If you reach out to help someone when they're on the verge of death, they'll be extra grateful. Also, since the enemy we were up against was a special ops unit, even if they were to go missing, their country probably wouldn't be able to launch a high-profile search for them. So I felt like if I had the chance, I wanted to intervene. I'm impressed as always, Lord Aints. Such deep thoughts, I suppose that's why you captured the commander and his men alive. Brilliant. Hearing Albedo's praise, Aints felt like bragging. He was making quick decisions and engineering plans with no inconsistencies or impossibilities. Maybe I'm executive material after all, he was thinking, feeling self-congratulatory, until he heard Albedo's concerned voice. But Lord Aints, I wonder if perhaps taking both of those angels' swords was not the best course of action. I figured I had confirmed that greater physical damage immunity was working using those knights outside the village when we first arrived in Khan. Yes, that is as you say. I witnessed it with my own eyes. However, it is unforgivable that you should have been stabbed with their vulgar blades while I was standing by right next to you. You're right. I acted without thinking of you, even though I was having you protect me. Saw and what woman could approve of her love being stabbed, even if he were unharmed in the end? Indeed. Never knowing what to say in these situations, Aints gave a short reply and headed back toward the village. Albedo didn't particularly seem to want a reply and followed him without saying anything else. When they entered the village, everyone came out to greet them, led by the Death Knight. In the midst of their countless praises and thanks, Gazef Stronov appeared. Oh, Captain, glad to see you up and about. I would have liked to save you sooner, but that item I gave you takes a little while to warm up. I apologize things got so down to the wire. Not at all, Sir Gaun, I am grateful. After all, you did save me. By the way, what happened to, sensing a change in his tone of voice, Aints took an inconspicuous look at him. Gazef had already taken off his armor and was dressed lightly in regular clothes, completely unarmed. His face was covered in bruises, and one of his eyelids had swollen up. His head seemed just like a misshapen soccer ball, but his eyes twinkled. When Aints looked away slightly, as if it were too bright, he spotted a ring on Gazef's left ring finger. He's married. I'm glad we didn't make his wife cry, Aints thought as he continued his act. Oh, I drove them off. I figured it would be impossible to take them all out, and I was right. That was a lie, of course. He'd sent them all to the Great Tomb of Nazarick. Gazef squinted for just a moment, but neither of them said anything. The atmosphere was tense. Gazef was the one to end it. Wonderful. You've saved us from danger so many times now, Sir Gaun. How can we thank you? You must stop by my manor if you are ever in the capital. I would like to give you a proper welcome. Oh. Well then, I may take you up on that, thank you. You won't come with us now then, I take it. What are your plans, Sir Gaun? My men and I will rest here, I see. As for me, I intend to head out, although I haven't decided where I'll go yet. It's already night. Traveling in the dark is Gazef trailed off. Please excuse me, Sir Gaun. You're strong enough that I don't need to worry about you. I hope you'll remember me if you come to the capital. My gates will always be open for you, and I don't have words enough to thank you for allowing me to have one of the suits of armor from the knights who initially attacked Khan. Aints nodded and judged that everything he had come here to do was finished. Somehow or another, a lot of unexpected things had happened, and he had stayed longer than he meant to. "Let's go home," he said in a voice only Albedo could hear. She nodded happily in response, although she was still wearing her armor, of course. Epilogue Aints' luxurious private chamber was ornately furnished and had a crimson rug. Normally it was covered with a veil of silence, but on this particular day, the silence was so quiet it could be heard as its own sound. The maid who normally stood by was gone, leaving only Aints, Albedo, and a Death Knight standing at attention in the corner, holding a sword. Albedo's voice sounded sweet like honey, so it didn't spoil the atmosphere. "Allow me to report the commander of the slain theocracy's sunlit scripture, who we captured near that village, has been sent to the ice prison. The plan is to have an officer of intelligence gathering get information from him. If you're getting Neuronist to do it, that's no problem. But you know I want to experiment on the corpse, right? Yes, my lord. We are currently appraising the gear we stripped off the night-looking things. I have heard none of the items are very enchanted. I imagine we'll put everything in the treasury when we're done. Sure, that seems appropriate. Lastly, as a precaution, we've sent 2 shadow demons to that village. How should we handle Gaze of Stronov? Leave the captain alone for now. More importantly, Khan is our only outside foothold and the only place we've managed to build friendly relations. We may rely on them for cooperation in the future. Do your utmost to avoid ruining that connection. Understood. I'll make sure we do." Well then, that was my report. Aints thanked her and took a closer look. She always wore a gentle smile, but today's was different. She seemed to be in a nearly uncontainable good mood. The reason was on her left ring finger, being stroked by her right hand, a ring of Aints' Ool gown. Where she wore it was up to her, but it wasn't hard to guess why she put it on that finger. If those were her genuine feelings, as a man, Aints might have been glad. But her feelings were the result of his fiddling. Guilt smoldered in his heart. "Albedo, the love you have for me is something I warped. It's not how you really feel, so what else should I say? Would manipulating her memories with magic be the right way to handle this?" Aints faltered and couldn't say anything more. Albedo, still smiling, asked, "How was I before you changed me? A bitch." Not that he could say that, though, so he wasn't sure how to explain things. He looked calm on the outside, but inside he was frantically searching for a solution. Albedo, watching him, was again the first to speak. "In that case, I prefer my current self, so you don't have to fret about it." But Aints was silent. He was getting some kind of unfathomable sign from her as she continued to smile. Since he wasn't speaking, she continued. "There's only one thing that's important." Aints was waiting for her to continue, and she spoke in a sad voice. "I'm not a bother to you, am I?" He opened his mouth and gazed at her face. Her words gradually sank into his brain, not that he thought he had won and finally understood what she was trying to say. He hurried to her defense. And no, not at all. He wasn't upset about being loved by such a beauty. For now. So then, it's fine, isn't it? It didn't seem to be, but he couldn't come up with a way to convince her. "It's fine, isn't it?" she repeated. Aints definitely sensed something strange, but asked as his last resort. "I distorted the backstory that Tabula gave you. Don't you want to get the real you back? I'm sure Tabula Smaragdina would forgive you, as a father forgives his daughter for becoming someone's bride." "Why, you think so? Is that really what he was like?" As Aints was pondering that, there came a clatter of metal. When he looked in the direction it came from, there was a long sword on the ground. The Death Knight who was supposed to be holding it was nowhere to be found. It had just been summoned a little while ago. Monsters summoned in the usual way return after their time limit is up. From the way the sword from this world fell to the floor, their gear was not a strong bond that allowed them to remain in this world. If we use a corpse as a base for the summons, it doesn't return because the tie to this world is stronger. If so, we could use a pile of corpses to fortify Nazarick. Then shall I gather a pile of corpses? Let's not go digging up Khan's graveyard. Understood, but we should come up with an idea for how to gather a large amount of corpses. Now then, if the Death Knight has vanished, it must be almost time for the meeting. Please come with Sebas. I'll go on ahead. Oh, all right, Albedo, see you later. Having left Aints' chamber, Albedo saw Sebas walking her way. Sebas, perfect timing. Oh, Albedo, is Lord Momonga in his chamber? Yes, he is. She felt slightly superior because Sebas was still calling him Lord Momonga. Sebas raised an eyebrow. You seem to be in a good mood. Did something nice happen? Kind of. Knowing about the name wasn't the only reason she was happy. She was remembering her previous conversation with Aints. She, said bride, and he hadn't refused her or evaded. In other words, her gentle expression twisted to become impure, even for how evil she was. She would never wear that sort of smile in front of Aints. Tee-hee-hee-hee-hee, I can get him. I'll show her. I will be the one seated at his side. Sholtia can have a place to stand. She whispered her aims, not as captain of the Floor Guardians, but as a woman, and clenched her fists. My succubus blood is boiling. Sebas looked on, a bit disgusted. Aints arrived in the throne room accompanied by Albedo. A great many beings were there, down on one knee to express their loyalty. No one moved. It was so still that not even the sound of breathing could be heard. The noises were Aints's and Sebas's footsteps. There was also the clacking of the staff of Aints Ul Gown on the floor. Aints climbed the stairs and sat on the throne. Sebas, of course, stopped at the foot of the stairs and kneeled behind Albedo. Having seated himself, Aints silently surveyed the scene stretching out before the stairs. Almost all of the NPCs had gathered. The best part of this was seeing everyone all together. There were so many different beings, it was like a parade of demons. He wanted to applaud once more the imaginative power of his guild mates who had brought all this forth. Looking over everyone, he noticed a few people missing, but that was unavoidable. The ultra-giant golem Gargantua and guardian of the 8th level victim couldn't get away. Not that it was to make up for their absence, but there were more than just NPCs gathered. There were many high-level minions. No doubt the Floor Guardians had painstakingly selected them. Even so, the throne room was so spacious it felt a little empty. The throne room was the heart of the great tomb of Nazarick and its most important area. He understood why people would hesitate to admit minions, but he thought the rule could be relaxed a bit more. But that's a matter for another time. Aints decided to address it at a later date and opened his mouth to speak. First, I'm sorry I acted on my own, he apologized. His voice didn't sound like he felt sorry at all. This was just for appearances. What was important was that he apologized. He acted at his own discretion, but he didn't want those beneath him to think he didn't trust them. Ask Albedo what happened while we were gone, but there is one thing I want to tell all of you right away. Greater Break item. Aints cast a spell that could destroy magic items of up to a certain level. One of the big flags hanging down from the ceiling fell to the floor. The crest on it was Momonga's. I've changed my name. From now on, call me Aints. Pointed his finger and gathered everyone's eyes. Call me Aints Ul Gown, Aints for short. His finger was pointing to the tapestry behind the throne with the guild's crest. He struck the floor hard with his staff to get everyone's attention. Anyone with objections, stand and say so. No one had anything to say in response. Albedo spoke, beaming. We have heard your honorable name. Hail Lord Aints Ul Gown. To you, most noble one, Aints Ul Gown, we of the great tomb of Nazarick pledge our absolute loyalty. Then the guardians joined in. Hail Lord Aints Ul Gown, you brought the supreme beings together. To you we devote everything. Hail Lord Aints Ul Gown, you are a king who wields horrific power. All beings must know your greatness. The NPCs and minions' cheers echoed across the throne room. Bathing in the praise, Aints thought, mates, what would you think of me monopolizing our proud name for myself? Would you be happy, or would you furrow your brows? If you have an opinion, come and tell me. Tell me it's not my name alone. When that time comes, I'll gladly return to being Momonga. He looked out at everyone below him. I'm going to give a strict order now, a guideline for our policy going forward. Aints paused for a few moments. Everyone's expressions had tensed. Make Aints Ul Gown an enduring legend. He thrust the staff of Aints Ul Gown into the floor with his right hand. The second he did, the colors from each of the jewels began to come out and shimmer in the air. Where there are many heroes, crush them, because Aints Ul Gown is the greatest hero. Make it known to all living creatures. If we come up against someone stronger than us, show it in a way besides strength. If we face a mage with many men, choose another method. We are still in the preparatory stages, but we must work toward the great day that will surely come. We must make it known that Aints Ul Gown is the greatest. He wanted to spread his name and get it into every ear in this world. His old friends, the guild members of Aints Ul Gown, were supposed to have quit, but there was still a possibility they might be here. That's why he wanted to get to the legendary point where everyone knew his name. On the earth, in the sky, and over the sea, all sentient beings must know. Then, it just might reach a former guild member. Aintz's voice, brimming with ambition, was powerful enough so that everyone in the room could hear. Everyone bowed their heads. The motion was so synchronized it was audible. Their attitude could be called prayer or worship. The throne looked a little lonely once Ainz had left. Excitement was still high in the throne room. Receiving orders from their absolute ruler and starting their tasks together lit a flame of passion in each of their hearts. Those who had received a direct order were especially zealous. Everyone, raise your heads. Everyone whose head had stayed bowed looked up, as if tugged by Albedo's soft voice. Each of you who has received a direct order, follow it humbly. Now we have something important to discuss. Her eyes never left the Ainz Ul gown tapestry behind the throne. The NPCs and minions behind her looked at it too. Demiurge, please tell everyone what Lord Ainz told you. Understood. He was still kneeling like everyone else, but his voice carried so all present could hear. Lord Ainz said this while gazing at the night sky. Perhaps the reason I came to this land was to acquire this untouched box of jewels. Then he continued. No, I shouldn't monopolize it. The great tomb of Nazareth, my friends in Ainz Ul gown, should be adorned as well. The box of jewels here is this world, so here we see his true intention. Demiurge smiled, but it wasn't a warm smile. The last thing he said was, taking over the world does sound kind of fun. Which means something glinted in all of their eyes, the color of their determination. Albedo slowly got to her feet and surveyed everyone's faces. They all gazed back at her, keeping an eye on the Ainz Ul gown tapestry behind her as well. Comprehending Lord Aintz's true intention and preparing to fulfill it is proof of our loyalty. It is also the mark of able subjects. Know that our ultimate goal is to give this world, this box of jewels, to Lord Ainz. Albedo grinned ear to ear, turned around and smiled at the tapestry. Lord Ainz, we will make this world yours without fail. Her voice echoed as she continued. We will give all this world has to offer to its true ruler, Lord Ainz.